The Dallas Cowboys have just traded a Rolls-Royce for 5 Toyotas.
Herschel Walker to Minnesota for 5 players.
The great Herschel Walker for these guys? No one had ever even heard of these guys.
I couldn't believe it. They're trading Herschel Walker. Like, oh, geez, what are these guys doing?
Breaking news! Micah Parsons has officially been traded from the Dallas Cowboys to where? Oh, the Green Bay Packers.
What the hell are we doing as a franchise? In no way do you trade a 26-year-old in his prime, potential Hall of Famer.
This will go down as one of the worst trades in the history of their football team and their organization. They traded away a future Hall of Famer.
I really like Micah. I appreciate the 4 years that we've had him here. There's no question that I could have signed him in April. But the facts are, we need to stop the run. And we haven't been able to stop the run at key times.
We're the worst team in the league, and we just traded our best player for 5 nobody.
And to sweeten the deal, Cowboys owner Jerry Jones paid an additional $2 million for Walker to waive his no-trade clause.
The one good player we've got, now he's not even here.
I don't think the Cowboys will ever be the same.
It's going to come back to haunt the Cowboys.
The Dallas Cowboys shocked the NFL by trading away superstar Micah Parsons. Immediately, fans and analysts began drawing parallels to another blockbuster Cowboys trade over 30 years ago, the Herschel Walker trade. That infamous 1989 deal laid the foundation for the Cowboys' 1990s dynasty. In 1989, the Cowboys were the worst team in the NFL, fresh off a 1-15 season under new owner Jerry Jones and new head coach Jimmy Johnson. The lone bright spot on that miserable team was running back Herschel Walker, one of the league's premier offensive stars at that time. But in a stunning move, Jerry Jones decided to trade away Walker mid-season. On October 12, 1989, Dallas sent Herschel Walker, then a 2-time All-Pro running back, to the Minnesota Vikings in exchange for an unbelievable haul of players and draft picks. The trade ultimately involved 18 players and draft picks, still the largest player trade in NFL history. But Cowboys fans were furious. At that time, it looked like Dallas was giving away their best player for a bag of beans, as one of the reporters put it. Even members of Johnson's own staff were skeptical. They wondered if trading a star for unknown picks would end their career. But Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson had a bold plan. They valued draft picks over veteran players. And the Vikings believed that Dallas would keep the players that they sent over, but Jerry Jones had other plans. He promptly waived or traded every player they acquired, which triggered their conditional clause that flipped those players into extra draft picks. In total, the Cowboys ended up with 8 draft picks, including Minnesota's first-round picks in 1990, 1991, and 1992. That Herschel Walker trade is now regarded as a spark that ignited the Cowboys' 1990s dynasty. It's often called one of the most lopsided deals in sports history. Dallas ended up using those draft picks to rebuild a powerhouse roster in just a few short years. And despite the initial outrage, the trade gave the Cowboys the resources to assemble a dynasty in the 90s. Now that Dallas had Minnesota's draft picks, they went to work, and they were aggressive and creative. The Cowboys made dozens of subsequent trades and moves with those assets to maximize their value. The result was a slew of talented young players coming to Dallas. Notably, the draft picks from the Herschel Walker trade helped Dallas acquire 3 main players who became a pillar of those championship teams. Emmitt Smith, taken in the first round of 1990 after Dallas packaged Minnesota's pick to move up. Emmitt became the NFL's all-time leading rusher, a league MVP, and a Super Bowl MVP. He was a Hall of Fame running back and the offensive engine of the 90s Cowboys. Russell Maryland, defensive tackle, selected number 1 overall in 1991 using Minnesota's 1991 first-round pick. Maryland bolstered the defensive line and became a Pro Bowl player. And Darren Woodson, drafted in 1992 second round with the pick from the Walker trade. Woodson became a Ring of Honor player for Dallas, a 3-time All-Pro safety, and the backbone of that Cowboys defense for the decade. In other words, trading away Herschel Walker gave Dallas the ammo to draft multiple cornerstone players, including Emmitt Smith, Darren Woodson, and Russell Maryland, who helped the Cowboys win multiple Super Bowls. These young stars joined existing draftees like quarterback Troy Aikman and wide receiver Michael Irvin to form a juggernaut. By the 1992 season, just 3 years after the Walker trade, the Cowboys were Super Bowl champions, and they would go on to win 3 titles in a 4-year span. That 1990s Cowboys team became a dynasty, and they earned the nickname America's Team for their widespread popularity. They were flashy, bold, and most importantly, dominant. And much of that success can be traced back to Jerry Jones' Bull trade in 1989. It's also worth noting that trade didn't work out for the Vikings at all. Minnesota thought Herschel Walker was the missing piece to a Super Bowl run, but that never panned out. The Vikings never even reached the Super Bowl or won a playoff game while Herschel was there. He left the team after just a couple of seasons, while Dallas was on its way to becoming a dynasty. But before we move to the present, one more parallel from the 90s, big stars and contract disputes. Even during that golden era, the Cowboys had to deal with a high-profile holdout. After winning 2 Super Bowls, Emmitt Smith sought a new contract in 1993, and he actually missed the first 2 games of the 1993 season. In a standoff with Jerry Jones, the defending champs started 0-2 without Emmitt, which sent Jerry Jones a loud message. Jones finally caved, making Smith the highest paid running back in the league at that time. Emmitt would return and proceed to win the NFL rushing title and MVP honors, and Dallas won the Super Bowl again that season. It showed that even in a dynasty, contract drama happens. But keeping your stars happy, and most importantly on the field, was crucial to winning championships. Now fast forward to 2025, the Cowboys are once again at a crossroads, albeit under very different circumstances. Dallas hasn't been to a Super Bowl in nearly 30 years, not since those mid-90s glory days. And they've endured one playoff disappointment after another, and frustration is higher than ever in Dallas. And owner/GM Jerry Jones is now 82 years old and desperate to get his team back to the top. That's where this stunning Micah Parsons trade comes into play. Micah Parsons is arguably the best player the Cowboys have had in years. A 2-time All-Pro pass rusher, the kind of defensive talent you build a franchise around. At just 26 years old, Parsons was already on a Hall of Fame trajectory in Dallas, racking up sacks and game-changing plays from the moment he was drafted in 2021. He's been the face of that Dallas defense. Trading him in his prime was unthinkable until it happened. So why did Dallas trade Parsons? The short answer, a contract holdout and power struggle. Parsons was entering the final year of his rookie deal, and he wanted a massive extension, understandably as one of the top NFL defensive players. But negotiations with Jerry Jones can turn ugly. Reports say Jones tried to negotiate directly with Parsons, sidestepping his agent, and Parsons didn't appreciate that. The dispute escalated over the summer. Parsons even made a trade request amid the standoff, and it became very clear that 2 sides were very far apart on the contract terms and trust. In essence, this became a holdout situation. Parsons wasn't going to play without a new deal, and Jones wasn't backing down either. So rather than pay the huge contract Parsons wanted, Jerry Jones shocked everyone by sending Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers in a blockbuster trade. That deal sent Parsons to Green Bay in exchange for 2 future first-round picks and defensive tackle Kenny Clark, who is a 3-time Pro Bowler himself. And Green Bay gave Parsons that big deal he was looking for. They signed him to a 4-year, $188 million extension with about $136 million guaranteed. This record-setting deal made Parsons the highest-paid non-quarterback in NFL history. And Cowboys fans are understandably conflicted and anxious about this move. It feels eerily similar to 1989, Dallas trading away a beloved star for draft capital, essentially waving the white flag on the current team in order to build around the future. Back then it was Herschel, today it was Parsons. In both cases, Jerry Jones was the dealer pulling the trigger. And just like in 1989, there's been heavy criticism. Many have called the Parsons trade the worst in Cowboys history and blast Dallas for giving up a generational talent. They also argue that Parsons is irreplaceable, and the 2 late first-round picks that Dallas will most likely get from the Packers won't come close to Parsons' caliber. In a lot of people's eyes, trading away Parsons made the Cowboys worse. On the other hand though, some see a method to the madness. There's a line of thinking that this is a smart, long-term play, essentially Dallas cashing in one elite player for multiple assets, much like they did in 1989. The optimistic view is that with 2 first-round draft picks, the Cowboys can draft several quality players, perhaps 3 to 5 eventual starters, or even parlay those picks into other moves. In fact, if the post-Parsons Cowboys struggle in 2025, Dallas could end up with a very high draft pick of their own, which potentially will put them in range to draft a franchise quarterback or another defensive superstar. Essentially, the trade could jumpstart a rebuild, giving the Cowboys ammunition to retool the roster for a future championship window. Jerry Jones himself is trying to sell the trade as a win-win. In his public comments, Jones insisted that moving Parsons was in the best interest of the organization, and Jerry maintains that this deal can help the Cowboys stay in the hunt now while also stockpiling picks for later. It's a classic Jerry Jones move, but only time will tell if he's right or not. But from the Packers' perspective, it's a bit like the Vikings in 1989. They believe adding a superstar will put them over the top right now. Green Bay has been a playoff team 5 of the last 6 years, but hasn't made a Super Bowl appearance in 15. By landing Micah Parsons, the Packers clearly think that they've found found their missing piece to a championship run right now. They gave up a lot of future draft capital, but for Green Bay, the priority is the present. They have a young quarterback in Jordan Love and are trying to maximize a competitive roster. Parsons can be a game wrecker who instantly upgrades that defense, much like Reggie White did for them in the 1990s. In fact, observers have noted that this is the Packers' biggest all-in move in decades, similar to when they signed Reggie White in 1993, which led to a Super Bowl run. So the Packers gotta be ecstatic to get Parsons. And unlike the Vikings with Herschel, Green Bay made sure to lock Parsons up with that long-term contract on day one. The Herschel Walker trade ended up proving that one savvy trade can completely turn a franchise around. Dallas went from 1-15 and the laughingstock of the league to Super Bowl champions in just 3 years thanks to that trade. However, replicating that success is easier said than done. That Herschel trade was a once-in-a-generation heist. It required brilliant foresight and near-flawless execution. The NFL in the early 90s also had no salary cap and a less restricted free agency, which made it a bit easier to stockpile talent. Today's NFL is a parity-driven league. Rebuilding through the draft is possible, but it's hard to create a dynasty in the salary cap era. Let's consider what Dallas got for Parsons versus what they got for Herschel Walker. The Walker trade, they netted 3 first-round picks, 1990, 91, and 92, and a slew of second and third rounders. In contrast, the Parsons trade brings in just 2 first-round picks, 2026 and 2027, but also brings in a Pro Bowl veteran to fill up that middle of the defense. It's a big haul by modern standards. 2 first-rounders can certainly become 2 very good players, but it's not as massive as that Herschel Walker trade was. The margin for error will be smaller. Those picks likely won't be near the top of the draft since the Packers are expected to make a playoff run. So the Cowboys front office will have to scout and draft extremely well to make this pay off. They might need to find the next Emmitt Smith or Darren Woodson in those drafts, which is not an easy task, but it's not impossible either. There's also the timeline to consider. In 1989, the Cowboys were at a rock bottom and fully embraced a rebuild. Fans were impatient, but understood that the team was starting from scratch. In 2025, it's a bit different. The Cowboys have been a playoff caliber team recently. Essentially, the Cowboys might be acknowledging that the current core, even with Parsons, wasn't getting over the hump. So they're shifting focus to building towards the next chapter. One reason for hope though, Dallas is pretty good at drafting. You gotta give the Cowboys front office some credit. In recent years, they've drafted stars like Parsons, CeeDee Lamb, Trevon Diggs, Zach Martin, and Dak Prescott. If any team can turn 2 extra first-round picks into gold, Dallas might be the one. There's even a scenario where if 2025 goes poorly, Dallas could end up with a very high 2026 pick of their own, plus Green Bay's picks. But with that said, many Cowboy fans are still skeptical. They've been told trust the process before and watch seasons of mediocrity. Let's not forget, giving up an elite player like Parsons can be really risky. And if those draft picks turn into busts, the Cowboys will have lost one of the NFL's best defenders. Parsons could go on to have a Hall of Fame career in Green Bay, while Dallas is sitting there wondering what could have been. And that's the nightmare scenario for many Cowboys fans. And that's why so many in the media and fan base are blasting that move right now. When you have a known superstar, why trade him away and roll the dice? So, can the Cowboys do it again? Can they strike gold in the draft and build another dynasty with the pieces from the Parsons trade? It's possible, but it will require exceptional management and a bit of luck. The kind of perfect storm that happened in the early 90s. The Herschel Walker trade is the gold standard of franchise-altering moves. It's the reason Dallas won 3 championships in the 90s. At the end of the day, we won't know the true impact of the Parsons trade for a while. If the Cowboys draft a new generation of stars and hoist the Lombardi Trophy in, say, 2027, then we'll all point back to this moment as a turning point. Jerry Jones took a gamble, much like he did in 1989 with Jimmy Johnson by his side. That 1990s gamble paid off in a spectacular fashion, delivering a dynasty. Now, in 2025, Jerry Jones is gambling again. Now this time without Jimmy, and with the stakes as high as ever. So only time will tell if that Micah Parsons trade becomes the next chapter in Cowboys history that leads to a new dynasty, or if it'll be a decision that Jerry Jones and the Cowboys will end up regretting. History is watching, and Cowboys fans everywhere are hoping that lightning can strike twice in Dallas. After all, it happened once, but could it ever happen again? That's the question.